Hey, welcome everyone. In this video, I'm talking about Bill C-22 up here in Canada. Now, if you want to see the written version of this video, you can find a link to a website in the video description. So, I made a lot of tech privacy videos. Sometimes I target very specific geographical regions. Like I'll talk about stuff about privacy related in the United Kingdom or United States. And in the last few videos, I mentioned like, hey, it's going to happen here in Canada eventually. Because Canadians in general, most of them, or us rather, just don't care about tech privacy. Except for advocates like myself and some other folks, like I think some ordinary gamers YouTube channel, open media, and you get the idea. Canadians saw this, and the Canadian government saw these other things that the other countries are doing, and they're like, hey, what's this all about? United States and United Kingdom are doing better than us. Hey, hold my beer, eh? Watch me get Bill C-22 passed and get it really done properly. That's how most people perceive Canadian accents as, except for people in Brampton, which is like the joke of Canada, and I've lived there for several years, only moved out of there recently, thank goodness for that, where their accent is just like, yeah, that's not just brown people like myself, Indian people like myself, that's just anyone in Brampton. So yeah. Anyway, moving along, in this video, I want to mention one thing very clear, that this is not specific to just liberals. I know the first thing people trying to comment on is very toxic. They'll say, well, see what the liberals are doing, the left, the woke, and all that. I don't care about the left, the right, the liberals, the NDP. I don't care. My take on politics is this. I don't care about any political party or any politician. I don't trust any of them. I vote. It's important I vote, and I do that. However, let's just put it this way. No party has ever done a fantastic job for the Canadian economy and, the well-being of Canadians, because they would stay in power almost a limitless amount of time. But we keep changing governments because they don't seem to do a good job. I don't care about politics. This is strictly what is right for the consumer and your privacy. So the bill here is Bill C-22. It basically makes everyone kind of like a criminal, even though you're not. So we're not going to read this whole thing, but the main passage we want to focus on is part 2. That's where a lot of this stuff comes from. And any website that I show you throughout this video, I'll put links to those websites in my actual website article that'll be linked in the video description itself. So the first part we're going to be looking for is from a professor of law from Michael Geese. I think he broke it down beautifully. Some of the parts that you see with text, I'm going to be reading it really fast, but you can pause it at your own time and read it if you want to. I just don't want to make this video too long. Buried in the second half of Bill C-22, as I mentioned, part 2, is a provisioning granting the government the power to require core providers to retain categories of metadata, including transmission data for up to 1 year. This is out of date. This has actually been changed to 6 months because the bill faced harsh criticism, and this is the best we could get, which is still pretty sad, and you'll understand why shortly. This is mandatory metadata retention that would require telecom and electronic service providers to store this information about the communications of all users, regardless of whether these are suspected of anything. What does the metadata include? Well, date, time, duration, type of communication, identifiers of the device involved, critically, information that identifies the location of the device. This last category is what makes this provision so significant, since metadata retained under this power could be used to reconstruct a person's movement over time through cell phone signals and other location identifiers. What that basically means is that even if you're using something like WhatsApp, which is end-to-end encrypted, I already made a video explaining why you should not use WhatsApp, because that means nothing. It's not that private. I'll put a link to that video in the video description. Long story short is we'll use WhatsApp as an example because it's the most popular. Even if you're using that as end-to-end encrypted, WhatsApp, like Meta, the parent company of WhatsApp, is still collecting your first name, your last name, the email address, if you tie it to your account, because you can do that, the people in your phone book, so who you're contacting, and who you're messaging, because again, their name is in the chat. They can't see what's in the chat, but they can see who you're chatting with, who you're calling them by their name, and your location. How is it possible they can track your location even if you're using a VPN? Would be a good question for those of you wondering. But that VPN wouldn't actually help because the phone number is registered to your mobile data plan anyway, or your cell phone signal. So, and as you move through between towers, they can triangulate exactly where you are within a few meters, to be honest. That's what it's basically saying, and they have to retain all the information: your first name, your last name, your phone number, your IMEI number, basically any piece of information they can get on you, they have to retain it for 6 months. So another article from the same professor. In practical terms, this is extensive intercept infrastructure mandate with the specific orders cloaked in secrecy provisions prohibiting providers from disclosing their existence. I'll explain exactly what that means shortly. Given the minister's ability to extend to the requirements of the electronic service provider, this also covers virtually all digital services. So again, electronic service provider could be like Meta with their WhatsApp app, Instagram, your internet service provider, like where you get your internet from your home phone, your cell phone provider like Telus, Rogers, or Bell, whatever. Basically is saying that the government, through this power, can request this information without even telling you. So whether you're actually doing criminal activity or not, they just simply think you might be doing something wrong. They can just request this information and you have no clues being done behind your back. That's basically what this is saying. So now we're going to go to openparliament.ca to discussing Bill C-22 here on the floor. And I'm going to rip apart pretty much every single party because, as I mentioned, I'm not really affiliated with any of them. I think they're all pretty terrible in one way or another. I'm not going to go about the Liberals because they're doing a god-awful job introducing this bill. Then you have the Conservatives who have that criticism and the NDP. That's all they're pretty much good for. Those two parties, all they do is complain. And then the Bloc Québécois, the racist party of Canada, says something very interesting and actually pretty good for the citizens of Canada. They basically said members expressed concern over lowering the legal standard of proof to reasonable grounds to suspect, arguing this threshold is too low and could permit intrusive surveillance or fishing expeditions into personal information. What they're basically saying is that the reasonable grounds to suspect is the lowest threshold for a police officer to, get justification to investigate someone and look into some of their information. This basically comes down to that police officers can make this judgment call now, that they suspect someone's doing something. And remember I said earlier, they don't have to tell the suspect they're looking into their personal data. They can just do it willy-nilly because they suspect it. And that the chain of command just give them a thumbs up. Cool, you suspect someone? Go crazy. And I'll make this very clear here. I have nothing against police. I know some police officers. My wife's family has a couple of them in there. And some of the things they've seen and done is, I don't think I could do it. Okay, I have a ton of respect for them. But at the same time, when you look at some of the things that happen in Canada, police are not immune to corruption. This is the scary part, but it gets worse than this still. Looking at Citizen Lab now, they broke this down very well and very interesting if you look at it from a high level. Long story short, I'm just going to summarize the first couple of sentences. The government is basically recognizing the importance of cybersecurity encryption. And what usually happens in this case is when initially advancing, these proposals are never presented as a backdoor or an attempt to undermine encryption, but rather as a mechanism for public safety and other government agencies to secure data on a case-by-case basis. They have to basically make backdoors, kind of. So if you have a service that has encryption, like Signal, for example, has threatened to leave. A bunch of VPN companies have threatened to leave Canada if this passes. Rightfully so, and very sad because I use Signal and VPN, which I'll get into more later on shortly, is they're basically saying that, you have to make a back-end door for this. They're basically going to tell Signal that, hey, to operate in Canada, we need access to that metadata. And Signal's like, that breaks our entire trust factor. But here's the worst part. If you're a resident, I know someone in Europe, him and I chat very often, really cool guy. Even though he's in Europe, he's not fallen under Canadian law. By him sending information and chatting with me on Signal or WhatsApp or what other service it may be, Instagram or Facebook, their data will now be exposed because of the Canadian government. Because that data is coming over to Meta services here. That data is going over, I think Signal uses AWS, it's going over AWS to Canada. So even though the police can't go to my phone, it's end-to-end encrypted, all that metadata has to go through something. And that's what it means. People you chat with internationally are not going to fall under scrutiny of Canadian government. And this summary is basically saying it literally defeats the entire purpose of what the encryption process is supposed to accomplish. And yes, we will see a massive data leak. Canadian government, no one is immune to cybersecurity risk and data leaks. It happens all the time. Here's very interesting. The Walrus, which is a highly reputable news outlet, makes something very interesting of note here. It's widely known that since 2022, Canada has been negotiating behind closed doors a cross-border data sharing agreement with the United States. What does this mean? It means that the agreements could give U.S. authorities like the FBI or Department of Homeland Security the power to carry out real-time surveillance, including wiretaps and phone hacking into Canada, or to issue demands for data that could be obtained from sources such as cell phone tower dumps, blah, 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 basically similar metadata as I mentioned before. If the deal goes ahead, U.S. surveillance activities covered by the agreement would no longer require oversight from Canadian authorities or judges, thus relinquishing a core element of Canada's sovereignty under international law. At the moment, when Ottawa says it's rethinking the country's dependence on American infrastructure and institutions, Bill C-22 risks binding Canada even more tightly to Trump's surveillance. I don't have to translate this into layman's terms. Canada has these secret deals that they're going to give a whole bunch. Basically, the FBI is now our authority. They can't come over and arrest us, but they can basically go into every bit of your life with no intervention from the Canadian government or Canadian law, like judges and whatnot. The FBI or Homeland Security can just go in and say, I'm going to look at everything Sook has to do in his life. And Bill C-22 makes it even worse. But what does this mean for Canadian citizens? Because a lot of Canadians just don't care about privacy for the most part. It's sad. Well, what's going to happen is basically a lot of services, including Signal, DuckDuckGo, are basically going to say we're going to leave Canada. Google, Meta, this and that are actually saying, no, don't do this. Even Apple, even though Apple, Meta, Facebook, and Google, they all sell your data, they're just trying to push against it. But some VPN services like NordVPN is saying we're going to exit Canada. DuckDuckGo VPN is also saying we're going to exit Canada. The craziest thing here of this article, to prevent this, we will consider all available options, including limiting or, if necessary, removing our presence from Canadian jurisdiction. That came from a post from Windscribe, a Canadian-based anonymizing VPN service. This is insane. I'm really upset I didn't know about this sooner, because my understanding is that I think it's with the Senate or it might have passed already. No algorithm on the internet mentioned this to me until recently. So I'm really frustrated that the one that impacts me, my fellow Canadians, the most, I'm hearing about almost too late. So anyway, even if everything passes and this bill is done, you can still email or contact your local MP, whoever it is, member of Parliament, and tell them that you're not going to vote for them in the next election unless they voice up and critique this, because even when something is passed, they can still make an amendment, they still make changes in the government. Okay, so Canadians are absolutely 100% going to lose jobs over this. Will your VPN stop working? Potentially not. Proton VPN has basically said we're exiting Canada, but we still have a solution. You're still going to be able to use our services. What the heck does that mean? Well, typically when I connect to Proton VPN, that's what I use, I connect to a Canadian VPN site, because it's another layer of being anonymous. VPNs don't make you completely anonymous. I've defunct this in a video when I call out NordVPN for this. I'll put a link to that in the video description. But this works well because it helps hide my IP address when I connect to the VPN site, and then from the VPN site to the website. It adds a layer of latency, a little slight slowdown, but not that drastic. But if Proton all these services leave Canada, it means that the next closest location we can connect to is the United States. So in order to connect to your website through your VPN, you're going to have to go from your home in, I don't know, Newfoundland, whatever, connect to the United States, and then to the website that you're trying to access. There will be a slight delay. And this is really frustrating because I'm trying to boycott WhatsApp. I'm trying to get my family on Signal. I've gotten a few friends and family on it, but then now they're going to abandon Signal because they're going to be like, look at this. WhatsApp and Meta is still there. How is that possible? Meta hasn't threatened to leave. Like WhatsApp, they haven't threatened to leave. How's that possible? Same with Google. It's because they don't care. WhatsApp gives us data up. Apple gives us data up sometimes. They collect this data already. They give it up. That's why Signal's like, no, we're leaving. We don't give this data ever. We respect our users' privacy. The biggest problem, no one discusses Bill C-22. Not these professors, not these news outlets, nobody. Is that this could have an effect on the Canadian economy and more people losing their jobs. I'm not talking about NordVPN closing up and saying goodbye to their contractors. I mean, literally, just day-to-day folks who think they might not be impacted. Take, for example, you have a company that's internationally based, and you have customers in Europe. Europe is very strict with privacy laws. Very strict. But if they find out, hey, Bill C-22 means some of our metadata and our information will be funneled through to the Canadian government, that ain't happening. We're not doing work with you guys in the Canadian government or geographical region, rather. Shut it down. We're going to find another provider or find a way around. Okay, we'll host your virtual machine or your website in AWS in Europe. Cool. But your Canadian staff still have our emails, which contains our first name, our last name, our email address, our phone numbers. We don't want that accessible to your government. It's supposed to be confidential between you and I. Sorry, everyone who's working on that based in Canada, lay them off. Move them somewhere else. The economy in Canada is bad enough as it is. This is going to make it worse. This is the part people don't get. And most people will not have watched this long into the video, because Canadians just don't care. It's sad. Americans care more about the privacy than we do. They protest, they sign petitions. Most Canadians don't. It's sad. So that's the end of this video. Very long, but very passionate, as you can tell. I joked around at the beginning, but it's home, right? That's pretty much it. Take for what you will. I do hope you push against the government. Sign petitions, create a new one if you have to, because it's going through different layers. Maybe you need to create a new petition or something. Do that. Don't sign an old one if it's out of date based on how the verbiage is sent. Hammer your member of government or your member of parliament here. And that's pretty much a wrap. I hope you found the video useful. If you did, be sure to check out my website link in the description. Hit the like button, it does help. Subscribe, it literally helps my channel grow. And thanks for watching.